All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm pleased to be here tonight with Dr. Larson from Marvelous Minds. Her and I have known each other for a few years now. No, we actually went to elementary school together. But as you all know, we have had quite the last, year and a half almost. And tonight, Dr. Larson is going to share some tips and tricks with us to help the kids, and hopefully I might learn something for myself as well, to help us, move forward after the year that we've had. So take it away, Dr. Larson.
All right. Well, thank you, Melissa, so much for having me to talk to everybody, and welcome. All right, we'll get started. Okay, so any parenting expert will tell you that consistency and follow through are the keystones to effective parenting. If our kids don't know what our expectations are, what the consequences are, they don't know how to act or why they should act that way. So they don't know when they're breaking the rules and won't understand when they get in trouble. This leads to dysregulation for our kids and for ourselves. Okay. So the past year and a half has been a whirlwind of ever-changing rules and regulations. It's no wonder that we've had record-breaking incidences of emotional and behavioral problems worldwide. Most of us parents breathed a sigh of great relief when the school year ended about a month ago, but we're finding that the dysregulation didn't end with the academic calendar the way we hoped it would. Some of our kids are still experiencing signs of anxiety, depression, oppositionality, and we're getting really worried about we have been, but we continue to be very worried about our kids and are not really sure how best to help them. So this is what we're going to focus on today, is how to help our kids process this past year and a half and all of its craziness so that they can enjoy the summer. So the big question is, how can we expect our kids to stay regulated when the entire world is out of control, right? We know from trauma research that the recovery process is often thought about in 3 stages. The first of which is establishing safety. The second is retelling the story. And the third is reconnecting with others. So we can help our kids by walking through the same stages, although in different ways than we typically would clinically. As far as establishing safety, many of us for the past 18 months have lived in a constant state of anxiety, right? We're worried about our families getting sick, if we're going to keep our jobs, if our kids are going to keep up in school, and so on. Over the past month or so, as the country's begun to open up, we've had this kind of overall sense of safety that's been trickling down into our communities, right? People aren't wearing masks as much. People are out and about. People are going on vacation again. So there's definitely a growing sense of safety, but it's not really enough for our kids. They need something that is more specific and directed. So one of my favorite tools to use with kids and with grown-ups is what I call the happy place. This is a little depiction of what my happy place looks like. It's a field of flowers. But this is a tool where our children can use their imagination and mindfulness to create a sense of comfort and safety in their own minds, so that they can visit this place anytime they're getting anxious, whether it's at school or at the pool or wherever. So I was going to invite one of the participants, if somebody is interested in kind of walking through a happy place kind of trial here. It'll take a couple of minutes. Is there anybody that's interested? They can raise your virtual hand. Okay, we have 2 people that raised their hands, Melissa. Do you know how to unmute?
Yeah, I have unmuted Sue, and she's, now we'll get Natalie. All right, Sue and Natalie can now speak.
All right. Hello,
Hello.
Sue. I would like to go through a happy place directive with you. If you're interested, I'm going to have you kind of imagine something, and I'm going to ask lots and lots of very specific questions. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So first, I want you to think about a place. This could be imagined, or this could be a place that you've actually been where you felt very safe and comfortable, a kind of happy place, if you will. Let
Okay.
me know when you think of something.
I've got something right now in my head.
Excellent. Okay. So the idea of this is we are going to work together to paint a picture of your happy place that is as detailed as possible in all of your senses, so that the brain will experience it as if you were there by using your creative processes. Okay.
Okay.
So I like to walk through our senses individually, because this is how kids will tend to think about these things. So the first thing I'm going to ask you, Sue, is to imagine you're in your place and tell me what you see.
Blue sky, waves lapping at the shore. I see sunshine or clouds sometimes. Today it was foggy. I see people walking, sitting, relaxing, and playing.
Excellent. I want you to look around 360 degrees and keep telling me what you see. Start by looking to your right.
I see sand dunes and rocks. And as I turn my head to the left, I see a boat out in the water. I keep looking and I see seagulls diving for people's potato chips and other things. And then I look left and I see a dog over at the dog beach playing with its owner, splashing in the water. And then far left, I see the lighthouse and the parking lot and the edge of the pier.
Excellent. So I hope that everybody's listening to Sue and starting to kind of imagine what Sue is seeing. What kind of colors are the sky and the water? What kind of dog? What color is the lighthouse? Let's hear some more details.
Okay, the sky is vivid blue with puffy white clouds. The beach has umbrellas that are yellow or rainbow colors. There's a red one. There's some beach chairs that match these different umbrellas. The dog is a black lab, very playful. And the lighthouse is sort of an orangey red. Think sort of the color of the Golden Gate Bridge. It's like a burnt orange red color, and the railings along it are painted green.
Excellent. Okay, you've got some awesome details in there, and I'm really starting to see what you are seeing. If you look down at yourself, what do you see?
I have on my navy blue shorts and my flip-flop sandals in the sand. The sand is crunching up my toes. The beach is very clean. They rake it every day. There's no seashells because we're unsalted, but we have some rocks and little stones. And I have on a red top, and the breeze is giving me lots of cool, breezy wind and the breeze in my hair. I've got a book and my sunglass readers, and I'm relaxing and watching people, nibbling at my book once in a while, but definitely people watching, beach watching, wave watching, and cloud watching.
Sounds wonderful. All right. So speaking of sounds, close your eyes and tell me, what do you hear?
Well, you always hear the seagulls squawking because they make that crazy noise all the time as they're buzzing around. And you can hear the waves. Sometimes they're a little stronger than others. You hear people talking and playing. Definitely the dog barking and jumping and splashing with the owner. You see some people just laying on their tummy or laying on their back, getting sunshine. Sometimes you hear the footprints on the pier, people looking at the lighthouse, making a little noise. And actually, I forgot, there's boats going up and down the channel. Some of them, there's no wake there, so they're slow. So it's kind of a purr as they go through.
Excellent. All right. So you said that you could feel a breeze. What else can you feel?
The warm sunshine, a little bit of humidity. The breeze is helping keep it down a little bit. I feel relaxed. I feel content. I feel this is the place I can come to and all my cares fall away. And that I just know a day here, 24 hours here, feels like a week of vacation.
Sounds magical. All right. What can you smell?
Smells, well, there is a concession stand. So every once in a while, a smell wafts from there. Sometimes the smell of the seagulls can be a little pungent. Not a lot of food down on the beach. You know, it's not like they're barbecue grilling or anything. Definitely no salt in the air because I'm on unsalted water. And suntan lotion. Definitely smell that good old sunscreen.
Excellent. What do you smell from the concession stand?
Hot dogs, cotton candy. Can't really smell ice cream, but you know it's there. And you don't really smell water, but that condensation might be sitting in a puddle.
Excellent. All right. And what can you taste?
Well, I brought some almonds with to kind of curb the hunger. And then I always have my water with me. That's really it. The taste, you know, I'm not eating the sand or drinking out of the lake. I'm just, you know, keeping to myself and giving myself some quiet time.
So are these almonds roasted, salted, raw, candied?
Roasted, lightly salted.
Nice. Good choice. All right. So as you're looking around and smelling what you're smelling and feeling the breeze and listening to the birds and the boat, you said that you're feeling pretty relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Content. And,
Good.
you know, just very, there, to me, having that horizon in the water is just fantastic. And the lake goes from light blue to blue green to turquoise to deep blue as it gets deeper. And being a larger Great Lake, the waves and the rocks, you do feel like you're by the ocean without all the other ocean smells and sea salt.
Well, it sounds like a really magical and happy place.
Thank you.
I'm
It's
glad
also called Pure Michigan.
Sounds wonderful.
They don't pay me to say that.
So, when you are, I imagine this is a place that you've actually been, and it sounds like you've been there several times.
Mm-hmm.
When you are stressed out and just need a couple seconds to reinvigorate your mind or calm your stress levels. Is this something that you imagine?
Yes. And I definitely do my best to get up here quarterly to reboot my system. Even in the winter, I find it very calming, and just it's my happy place, totally.
That is excellent. I'm so glad that you have that opportunity. And when you can't get up there, you can walk through these steps of imagining yourself in that place and go through all your senses to really feel like you're there. Your brain is going to experience much of the same sensory sensations in a very similar way as if you were there. So
Great idea.
so even when you can't be in Michigan, you can access it in your mind.
Yep. Good plan.
Excellent. So this was a pretty quick, very detailed though, Sue. Thank you so much. A pretty quick idea of how you can help your child or yourself find their happy place. And again, it does not have to be a real place. I had a child once come up with, I don't remember, it was like unicornatopia, and it was all like cotton candy and glitter. But she described it in such deep detail, and we practiced it over a series of sessions, that she was able to get into that place and really calm herself down when she was having anxiety at school or with peers. And so it can be a really, really powerful experience. Are there any questions right now about how to kind of generate a happy place or to help somebody generate one? All right, I will take that as a no. If you have questions, go ahead and type them in the chat. I can see the chat, so I can address questions there. See if I can find the right slide to go back to. Okay, so the idea of going to the happy place, that is something that you can do to help your child establish a sense of safety. Okay. Other things that help with safety would be hugs, right? Just hugging your kid. There's nothing kind of more calming to most children than just having a little snuggle with mom or dad. Okay. Hygge is something else I put in there. If any of you were at our talk last Christmas time, last winter, we talked about the Scandinavian sense of hygge, which is really comfort. It's how to establish your surroundings and your activities in ways that make you feel safe and comfortable. So that's the idea of establishing safety. We all need to feel safe, right? The second kind of part of overcoming adversity is having an opportunity to tell your story, right? Yes, we were all in this giant, crazy pandemic boat. Yes, every kid had, similar experiences, but your child might need to explain their personal experience of the last year and a half so that they can kind of get over it, so that they have an opportunity to process it. A lot of times we struggle to make sense of something that's happened to us until we're talking about it. And then we have this like aha moment where we're like, oh my God, I never thought about it that way. Right? Until you're actually like saying it out loud. And so that's kind of the essence of this retelling of the story. Now, depending on your kid's age and their creativity, This might look like actually telling a story. This is how it was for me the past year and a half. I need you to understand my experience. It was really hard for me. Or maybe they want to write a story, or maybe they're artistic and they want to create a graphic novel that kind of chronicles my life in the pandemic, right? I was in 8th grade and all of a sudden school's shut down. I didn't get to graduate. I didn't get to do my school play. I didn't have my first high school summer. I didn't have my first day of high school, right? And giving them an opportunity to turn their story into something that that explains it without them having to relive it. So in whatever way they can do that is how you want to how you want to facilitate that for them. Maybe they want to write a song about it. I know a lot of kids who, as soon as you tell them, well, tell me about that in a rhyme, they can get silly and they can write a great story about their experience while they're singing. Maybe it's a younger child or somebody who's not very verbal and they want to draw a picture, right? So one of the things that I wanted to do is have you guys draw a picture, and it doesn't have to be excellent because God knows I'm not a very good artist myself. The kids I work with tend to tease me that my drawings are really bad. But if you guys have paper accessible or an iPad or something, go ahead and draw a quick sketch of your family or your life during the pandemic, something that kind of makes you think of what life has been like. So I'd like to just take a couple minutes and have you guys maybe sketch something out. If you have any questions, you can pop them up in the chat or raise your hand. Oops. There it is. This is what my pictures tend to look like. So if you're having trouble thinking about what to draw, or you're going to do this with your child and they're not sure how to go about telling their story or what to draw or what to write about, you can use Socratic questioning and ask them to explain their experiences that way. So you want to ask detailed questions, have them clarify, challenge things that they say so that you can get to a better understanding, explore with them the feelings words that they're using. Ask about how life was different or how it was the same, how family relationships might have changed, how they felt. Oh, thank you, Sue, for thinking my art is good. I totally stole this off the internet. I didn't actually draw this one, but I appreciate the kind words. Not just how they felt during the pandemic or during the shelter in place, but how are they feeling about it now, right? There's a lot of complex emotions that are going to come with the craziness while we're in the midst of it. But then as we're coming down from it and people are starting to act normal, right? There's a lot of times some very strong confusing emotions about what does it mean to go back to normal? What is normal? And that can be pretty confusing too. So asking those questions to help kind of guide their retelling of their experience. Has anybody finished their picture? Are there any questions that, while we give people a couple minutes to finish up, are there any questions that you would like me to address while we're waiting for our artists? Melissa, can you let Amy, wait, can I do this? Can you let her, oh, I can do it. Sorry, guys, I'm really bad at technology. Amy, you can talk.
Okay, great. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, good, good, awesome. So I guess my question would be, I started thinking about using this obviously with my kids at home, but then for students, and I thought, well, what if the drawings, and I think I missed your prompting questions, what if the drawings have some sort of sad or, you know, negative imagery? Do we need to make sure that we say draw something that's positive about the pandemic, or is that too guiding or leading, or is it sort of, you know, even if you're going to draw something that was a hard time, can you tell that with something, reframe it, I guess? Is that something that we should suggest?
So I think part of telling your story is being able to tell it how you experience it. So if your child draws something negative, that's a great place to start with. You know, we want to acknowledge the negative aspect of it and be like, wow, this looks like this was really hard for you. Mm-hmm. You know, can you tell me more about this? You know, and that's a really good starting off point for conversation. You know, and then maybe after you've talked about it a little bit, we can say, okay, now let's draw a similar picture, but let's change something. What could we do to change it so that you feel better in your picture? And give your child the opportunity to problem solve, right? We don't want to hand our kids all the answers. But we do want to facilitate them to be able to kind of generate their own ideas. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And then there was a question in the chat. Should we suggest parents do this with their children prior to coming back to school? I think that if your child is struggling, that absolutely, you want to open up the lines of communication. And if they aren't comfortable talking about their experiences, then having them draw it or paint it or sculpt it, or, you know, in whatever way that they can get that out to start a conversation is going to be really important. So absolutely, if this is something that's going to work in your family, then absolutely do it before school starts. Did we have any more questions or? All right. Well, I think that we will continue. Please, if you have questions, like I said, pop them into the chat and I will jump on them as soon as I can. Okay. So we are now on kind of step 3 of how we overcome adversity. And this is reconnecting with others. And it's kind of funny because having been in a pandemic, that's kind of like what we're all trying to do right now. We've been so disconnected from everybody and from everything that, you know, there's a natural sense that we need to reconnect, right? One of the problems with this, which is very much reflected in those of you who ask questions ahead of time, which I will get to at the end, is, you know, my kid used to be very social, but now that we have opportunities to see people, they're anxious, or they're worried about getting back together with people, or I'm not sure how safe it is, right? Like, how do we navigate reconnecting in a safe and comfortable way? These are huge questions, especially right now. Let's see here. I have notes. So for some of our kids, it's really easy and it's a natural transition to get back into their social lives, right? For others, it's not. We have been told ad nauseum for the last 18 months that if you're with other people, it is unsafe, right? You will get sick. Bad things will happen. And this has been like drilled into our minds and our kids for a year and a half, which, remember, when you're a kid, a year and a half is actually forever, right? So all of a sudden we're like, oh no, we're okay now, go out and play, right? Our kids are going to pick up on the fact that that just doesn't make sense, right? We've been telling them one thing forever and ever and ever, and then all of a sudden we're like, no, just kidding, you're okay, right? But wash your hands. So there's going to be a lot of discussion and even gentle persuasion around getting back into the swing of having a social life. And it's going to look different for everybody. So this is where conversation and open, honest communication is absolutely vital. And not just between you and your child, but you and your partner, between the families that you want to get together with, right? Are the kids going to wear masks? Are under 12s that we're not vaccinated yet, right? We have immune compromised friends who won't be getting vaccinated ever. So how do we walk that line between safety, right, and making our kids feel comfortable? So these are conversations that you're going to want to have with other parents, with your family, with teachers as we go into school. You know, whatever the rules are, whatever the structure is that we put around social engagement, we want to make sure that we are advocating for their comfort and everybody else's too, right? And that's not easy. Fist bumps and finger guns. So this is kind of my silly way of saying, like, we can get creative. We can still play with our friends. You know, maybe those of us who come from huggy cultures, who we hug everybody, maybe we back off from that. Maybe we find, new ways to greet our friends, right? We've got the elbow tap now and the fist bumps. And maybe that's something that stays. How can we communicate with people and show them our affection without touching them? We want to make sure that we're talking to our kids ahead of time and we're establishing the rules so that there isn't room for a lot of confusion and questioning. Well, when I go over to this person's house, we're all sharing from the same snack bowl, right? When I go to this person's house, I have to wrap myself in bubble wrap and wear a mask, right? And we can't control what goes on in other people's homes, but if we let our kids know what we believe is best for them, then they have that going into a situation. Let's see. So talking about and their concerns. What are the kids concerned about? Are they still worried about getting sick? Right? If they are they doing the things that they should be doing to protect themselves? Are we still washing our hands for 20 seconds? Right? We should always be doing that. We should always be coughing into our elbows or sneezing into our elbows. We should always wash our hands after we go to the bathroom, after we eat, after we, touch the ground or whatever. So making sure that your child has very clear ideas of what your expectations are around health and safety when they're meeting up with other people. we want to make sure that we're outlining all of those rules for them. Okay, that's super important. Let's see. Okay, so oops. Reconnecting with others. So a lot of questions that came up before this, before tonight's presentation were around, like, how do I get my anxious kid out there? How do I get them into a social situation when they're really scared right now? So I think one of the main takeaways from tonight's presentation is ease them into it, right? Don't have a party with all their friends. That's going to be way too much, right? Maybe start with, you know, Zooming with relatives who live far away so they can practice like social skills that might have gone rusty in a very low risk situation, right? Our relatives are going to love us no matter how, you know, weird we get when we forget how to answer a question politely, right? So start with the easy stuff. Maybe have a friend or two over for an outdoor game night. Keep it outside, keep it just a couple of people, keep it for a short period of time, ease them into social situations. You know, most of us have people that maybe we could have remained connected with via FaceTime or email or phone calls or whatever, and we didn't. A lot of us got really complacent when it came to keeping in touch with people. And it's a little awkward at this point to be like, so remember me? Sorry, I kind of dropped off the face of the earth, right? So start by writing someone a letter. Your kids are going to be in the same feeling in the same way. Yeah, they maybe they had a class all year via Zoom with somebody from their class, but they haven't actually talked to that person, right? So start it off easy. Write an old-fashioned letter, write an email, you know, do something. When you start to get together in person, make sure it's a time limited activity, that there's something to do so that you don't feel like you have to create all of this conversation for an unlimited amount of time, because that's really anxiety provoking to have to do something like that, especially when we're so out of practice. Okay. So that is reconnecting. Do we have any questions about starting to be social again, reconnecting, helping our kids kind of ease into it and get some practice? Okay. I lost my chat thing, so I'm I'm looking for it right now. Sorry if somebody typed something in there, and I told y'all I am no good at this technology thing. Okay. Well, hopefully it'll pop back up here.
I don't see any.
No, okay. Thanks, Melissa. I'm like I minimized it and I have no idea where it went. I think, oh, here we go. I got it. Okay. Oh, and we do have something. Okay, so we have, so a child has started to go back to the playground and other children will ask him to play and he's not sure how to respond because he's nervous getting close. So he doesn't say anything. And then other kids think of that as being rude, right? Because like we don't want to get too close. Like it's scary, right? Your poor kid has been told like over and over again that we can't get close to people. And now he's doing exactly what he's been told. And then the other kids are like, you know, finding his behavior to be off-putting. I would practice with him. I think that's takeaway number 2, you guys. Practice these things, do some role playing. If there are siblings around, get them in on it. If you have cousins or family friends that are lower risk, get them together and practice some of these situations. What do you say to somebody that you meet on the playground that you want to play with? How can you play some games where you're not going to touch them or get too close if you're not comfortable with that, right? These are things that we can do at home to prepare the kids so that when they do go out to the park, they're not standing there stuck like, I have no idea how to respond in this situation, because they will, because you will have practiced that. Some ideas to help kids as they head into summer school. Okay, yeah, this is an awesome question, and we are totally going to get to that. I had a lot of questions about that prior to the presentation. Again, like the big points, we want to ease them into it, and we want to practice. So if you have not been in a traditional classroom in a year and a half, and you're going to be going into one, or your kid's going to be going into one, practice what that's like, right? Set up school in the basement or in your kitchen, put the chairs in, at the table, and take turns with, you're going to be the teacher and you're going to teach us, whatever is, age appropriate for your children. We're going to have a spelling test, right? And your kids can take turns being the teacher and being the students. They're going to start getting it back into their heads what it was like when they were in the classroom. Have them eat their lunch out of a lunchbox, right? Make sure that you're preparing them time-wise by having bedtime consistent, having wake time consistent, having them get up and dressed and ready and breakfasted on time. If summer school starts in 2 weeks, start that now, right? Give them at least a week or two of having a consistent schedule. If your kid is getting good sleep and they're eating right and they're getting movement and they're not on screens all the time, you're setting their bodies up for success. Right. And then if we talk to them about this stuff and we practice with them and we make light of the situation, this has been a weird year. This is going to be kind of goofy going back into the classroom. What do you think it's going to be like? And prepare them and talk to them. And then now you have their bodies and their minds ready to go back into an old situation. Or even like our littles who have never been in a traditional classroom before, and they're going into preschool, or they're going into kindergarten, we can prepare them too. As much information as we can give them ahead of time, what it's going to be like, is going to help. And I would have them tell you what they think it's going to be like, right? We don't always want to supply the answers. We want to let them problem solve. Especially for the kids who have been in a classroom before, right? They're going to have that experience. It might be way in the back of their brain from like 2 years ago, which is forever, but it's in there, right? Good questions, you guys. All right. So I wanted to share some ideas for building resilience in general. Okay. These are ideas and tricks that can help any child, anytime, particularly our kids now after, this just outrageous year and a half that we've just lived through. Okay. So there are kind of 5 basic ideas in how to build resilience. The first of which is increasing positive emotions. Okay, so like joy and wonder, which make us feel good. When we feel good, we perform better, right? Whether it's work, school, relationships, we become hopeful for the future. We're more willing to make the hard choices. and to take risks that we need to do to put us on our best path, right? If we're experiencing only negative emotions, we're not going to take those chances. We're not going to be at our potential. So we really want to increase positive emotions. So one thing that you can do at home for yourself and your kids to increase positive emotions is to make a list. I am a compulsive list maker. I love making lists. I probably spend way too much time doing it, but this one was fun. This is things that bring me joy. Okay, so I would ask all of you right now to write down a couple things that bring you joy. If you don't have paper or phone or iPad or whatever, just think, what are 3 things that bring me joy? And you're going to ask your kids this too. So mine were my family, my puppy, who is sound asleep next to me right now, snuggles, chocolate, and tacos. I didn't write tacos because I had this amazing picture of a delicious taco. These are things that bring me joy. Okay. So thanks, Megan. You met my puppy, huh? He's the sweetest. Maybe I'll get him to pop over here and I'll show him off for you guys. Okay, so these are things that bring you joy. So I hope that you're all thinking about a couple things right now that bring you joy. Okay. The next domain in building resilience is what we consider engagement or flow. And this is the sense of being so completely enmeshed in something that we don't think about anything else. Okay. This is like, I'm reading a book that's so good that my partner might be calling me, or my kids might be like, Mom, I'm hungry. And like, I don't even hear them because I'm so into what I'm doing. That's flow. That's the sense of engagement. We all achieve this sense of flow in different ways. It can be a hobby. It can even be work. If you're doing a work task that's really engaging, that can also work. So I ask you to write down a couple things that give you a sense of flow or engagement. And I'll share mine with you guys here. Building Legos. I am a total Lego freak. Any of the kids who come into my clinic know this. My children will tell you I don't share my Legos. I have a problem. I love my Legos. But doing a puzzle or doing Legos for me takes everything and channels it into this enjoyable activity. And I can do it for hours. I can do it until like my hands cramp up and I have no idea what's going on around me. Gardening, I get that same sense of flow. So think about things that give you that sense of engagement or flow and help your kids figure out what those things are for them. Okay. The next thing is positive relationships. This should not be a surprise for anyone. Relationships are like part of being human. We are pack animals. We need connection, we need intimacy, and we need contact, right? And that's been one of the hardest things with the pandemic is the emotional and physical contact that we have lost out on for so many people. And positive relationships aren't just like anybody. We don't want one-sided, destructive, or draining relationships, right? If you have a middle schooler or a high schooler at home, I guarantee you know the kind of relationships I'm talking about. These draining, dramatic relationships where they're just so hard, right? These are not the type of relationships that we need to foster in our kids. We need something that they feel supported equivocally, they feel included, they feel understood and cared for. So here I ask you to take a couple minutes or a couple seconds, it shouldn't take that long, to think about people you have positive relationships with. So this would be, for me, my family and my best friend, who I am lucky enough to have work with me, and that's pretty awesome. So I am surrounded by people every day that I feel very strongly about. And so that's a great way to build resilience. Help your kids figure out who those people are that they feel supported and loved by. Whoops. Meaning. Okay. So meaning refers to the sense of doing something for more than just ourselves. Knowing that your actions, your time, your resources are being spent for a bigger goal gives you a true sense of satisfaction. Okay, it gives us a sense of purpose. We also, when we're working towards these sorts of goals, we tend to find our people, right? When we're passionate about something, we're going to meet people who are passionate about the same things. And that is something that our kids, particularly going into high school, really, it's one of their jobs, right? Is finding their people. When they are engaged in activities that go beyond themselves, whether it's a team or it's a resource that they feel passionate about, the other people involved are going to have similar values. And that's really, really important. When our goals are aligned with our values and we find activities and people that support that, it's really a game changer. So I want you guys to think about an activity that gives you a sense of meaning or purpose. Okay. And I will share mine here. So helping families feel better. My job, I have the best I have the best two jobs in the world. I'm a mom. Being a parent is by far like the coolest thing I've ever done. Helping other families feel better, absolutely, like a very close second to being a parent. It's amazing. And then advocating for equal rights is a personal passion of mine, and something that when I'm having a crappy day or I feel bad about something and I start thinking of the injustices of the world, it kind of puts stuff in perspective, and that's just me. So think about things that give you a sense of meaning and purpose. Okay. Keep coming back to tacos. Seriously. Sorry. My daughter's sitting here laughing at me because I can't figure out my slides. Okay. Whew. Last one here. Tacos are good. Thank you, Sue. I appreciate that. Go to Tota Madre after this. Okay. Accomplishment. So this refers to gaining a sense of mastery, checking something off our list, or feeling successful, feeling empowered. Okay. It could be finishing a crossword puzzle. It could be cleaning out a drawer. It could be earning a diploma, or even just getting the kids to sleep one night. Like, that is a sense of accomplishment. It makes you feel good. We want our kids to have this. We want them to feel it. We want them to know, what are they good at? What's something they've completed? And what's something that they are proud of? We need to do this for ourselves too. I think this is something that gets lost in the day-to-day grind of parenting. If we don't know what these things are for ourselves, how are we going to help our parents? How are we going to help our children figure these things out? So once again, I will share my personal accomplishments. Something I am good at is writing parody songs. Something I have completed, the giant Lego carousel. It's way harder than it looks. And I'm super proud of Marvelous Minds, my clinic here in Glen Ellyn. It is almost as wonderful as my family. It's something that I'm crazy proud of. Okay. So when we talk about those 5 aspects, and that was positive emotions. Now I'm forgetting. Positive emotions, engagement or flow, positive relationships, meaning, and accomplishments. There is research that there's one activity that you can achieve all 5 of those areas of resilience building, and that's playing games. And this research it's fascinating. And if you're like a goofy research person like I am, I highly encourage you to look at it. But playing games builds resilience. There's usually like a goal to a game, right? And so you get this sense of purpose. It's a game, so it's fun. So you're building positive emotions. You're playing with other people, so you're fostering relationships. The goals give you a sense of meaning. The process to achieve the goal gives you a sense of engagement, right? It's fun. And for those of us whose kids struggle with like problem solving skills and executive function skills, games are like the coolest, most fun, and most efficient way of building executive function skills. Okay, so you get all of that in playing a game with your kids. Okay, board games, card games, find stuff that's silly. They have games where you're throwing burritos and you're chucking little felt pieces of poop. Like there's ridiculous games out there, and they are so fun and they're so engaging, and they teach so many life skills. So I highly encourage everybody to have a family game night, right? And even if your kid wants to play the same boring game all the time, they get to pick a game, you get to pick a game, right? Everybody should have a say. Everybody should get to do one, and no griping when the, when the littlest one wants to keep playing Candyland. Make it interesting, right? We can always change the rules and shake things up a bit. Bottom line, there's no single way to help your kids understand or process the last 18 months, okay? Every kid is different, but here are some just important factors to take away. Listen to their experience. Don't assume you know, because your experience is different from your partner's experience, is different from your kid's experience. And your kids, if you have more than one child, their experiences are going to be different. We want to create a safe atmosphere, right? We want them to know that they can talk freely about their experiences, and we're not going to tell them they're wrong. We're not going to tell them that they need to get over it. We're going to say, yeah, that was really hard, right? What can we do to make now better? We want to help them reach out to others at their pace. We might need to ease them into it. Or some kids, we might need to pull them back. Maybe they're going a little too far, right? We want to engage in activities that build resilience. Games are a great way to do that. We want to make sure we're having fun. Those of us whose jobs got busier and busier over the pandemic, those of us who maybe lost our jobs over the pandemic and are scrambling to provide for our families, right? We're all crazy busy. Take the time to have fun with your kids. This is it, right? They're growing every day. We want to make sure that we're all having fun together. We want to give lots of hugs. Make sure that they're getting that. That's part of the safety, right? We want to make sure that they're getting what they need physically. And do not be afraid to seek out help. You do not need to do this alone. Never do you have to do this alone. It is really, really hard to be a parent. It is really, really hard to be a parent of a special needs child. It is really, really, really hard to be a parent in a pandemic with a special needs child, right? We are here to help families through, whether it's, for a one-time advice or for therapy, or different therapies. You don't have to do this by yourselves, okay? let's see. Oh, it's 8 o'clock. Okay. Are there any questions right now? So I can address some of the questions that came in prior to the presentation. Melissa, is there time for that?
Yeah, if people need to leave, they can leave. This is going to be recorded and shared.
Excellent. All right. Well, type any questions in the chat box, and I'll just go over some of the questions that that came in earlier. Most of the questions were about, you know, just how to help our kids get over like anxiety, whether it's clinical anxiety or just typical childhood worries from the pandemic. And whether you're a parent or teacher, there's a couple things that we want to do. One is give as much information ahead of time as possible. If you know the situation you're going to be walking into, describe it for your kid. Like we went through the happy place and we talked about the 5 senses and we looked around. If your kid is anxious about going to school, I want you to go into that level of detail as to what it's going to be like for them. If they're super anxious and they've never been in a classroom before, maybe they're a little kid and they're going to be going into preschool or kindergarten, take them into the classroom before the school year starts, right? Explain to them what it's going to be like. Where are the bathrooms? Where's the drinking fountain? Where's the cubby going to be? What are the desks like? You know, are you going to be sitting on a circle or on a carpet square? Are there going to be 1 or 2 or 3 teachers in the room? Like what is it going to be like? We want to be as descriptive as we can. And if we don't know that information, we can get that. We can advocate for our kids and help figure those things out. I talked a little bit about routine earlier. We want to make sure that we're establishing structure and a routine. We haven't had a whole lot of that in the past year and a half. Bedtimes, wake times, meal times. It doesn't have to be super rigid, but the kids need to know what to expect, even if it's a range, right? We're going to eat dinner sometime between 6 and 10 during the week, right? Like it doesn't have to be super specific, but they should know what to expect. Easing into it. I can't say that enough. If you've got a kid who hasn't had a play date in a year and a half, right? Don't invite the whole class over. Let's do 1 kid at a time. Let's start with a favorite activity. If they're afraid to get together with anyone, have them pick an activity and there's 1 friend that does it with them. Start small, right? Find their motivation. So somebody had asked a question about a child who's never really liked school and they've just kind of given up. And they're going to be going into high school and this parent doesn't know what to do because the kid just doesn't seem to care anymore, right? These are the kids where you need to work really hard to find their motivation. If that motivation is video game time, well, there you go, right? You get the video game time when the homework is done. You know, if there is emotional stuff going on, get to the root of that before the school year starts, right? Figure out what's going on. A really, really powerful book to read is Love Languages. A lot of us have read that as grown-ups. They also have Love Languages for Children. If you know how your child is going to respond to things, what's important to them, how they can accept and give love, that's going to be your first cue as to what's going to be motivating, right? Maybe time with you is going to be a motivator. Maybe it's a little trinket. Maybe it's kind words, right? when you know what's going to affect your child positively, then it's a lot easier to find their motivators and to work from that perspective. Find their talents, find their passions. If your kid loves doing something, even if they're terrible at it, who cares? That's their passion. They love it. That's going to be something that's motivating, and that's going to be something that's going to give them that sense of accomplishment, which builds resilience, right? We come right back to that resilience. We want to acknowledge the weirdness. This has been a weird year and a half. Nobody was expecting it. Nobody knew how to handle it. The rules changed constantly. Our perceived consequences changed constantly, depending on who you listen to, right? It was a weird year. It was pretty messed up. Like we're all still recovering from that. So you want to acknowledge that for the kids. Remind them that we don't have all the answers. We're just parents, right? We maybe have some more answers than they do, but you know, we're all in this. We're all in this big, weird pandemic boat together. And you want to normalize that for them. I had a couple questions on focusing on the good stuff. What are the good things that came out of the pandemic? Family relationships. In a lot of cases, and a lot of families that I'm talking to, they have learned more about their family members than they knew before. They've grown closer. They've found hobbies or activities that they enjoy doing together that they never knew they both liked, right? So there's a lot of kind of positive changes in relationships that have happened. One of my favorite things is that we've been able to slow down a little bit. You know, when you have children, as you know, things go so fast. You blink and they go from a toddler to a teen, right? We really got a chance to kind of slow down and see them in their everyday environment. So the teachers who are in there, you guys see children every day, and you get to see all those little quirks and those patterns, right? When we're parents, you don't see your own kids necessarily doing that because 8 hours a day when they're awake, we're not with them. So the pandemic gave a lot of us an opportunity to see our kids in a totally different light. As a neuropsych, I got a whole lot of parents calling going, oh my gosh, I don't know how my kid makes it through the school day. I can't believe how much they struggle with attention or impulsivity or whatever the behavior is. It's like they're never paying attention, right? And they've never seen that before. The teachers might see that all day, right? But the parents haven't had much of a chance. So that's been, I think that's been a good part. The environment, it's really hard to see all the traffic coming back when we got to witness this almost immediate change in pollution. Like that's been pretty cool. And explaining that to the kids, I think is a pretty neat thing. Like, yeah, it was a really weird year, and yeah, a lot of bad stuff happened, but you know, here's some good stuff. Anyway, that's what I have for the questions that came in. Were there any other questions that I did not get to or that anybody wanted addressed? All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for listening, and I want to do a little plug. I will be back here in July talking about how to set your child up for success, healthy mind, healthy body, and in August for preparing your kid to go back to school. And at Marvelous Minds, I'm super, super excited that we're going to be doing a executive function workshop This is going to be July 12th through the 16th. Very, very excited about this. This is for our middle schoolers and high schoolers, and it's going to be a 1 week intensive executive function workshop. If you have any questions about it, you think your kid could use some skills here, give us a call, okay? Thanks so much for listening, everybody.
Thank you so much. Very informative. Good night, everybody.